Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you all. I'm just going to give about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes for those who are going to be joining us for this broadcast today. I really want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has been a part of this journey from the start. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining. I can see some people already coming on. We just have about 3 to 5 minutes. We had a bit of an issue at the beginning with the, Facebook link, and I had to create another one. I hope we get through. I hope we didn't lose anyone. Looking forward to an exciting session this evening. Just a few minutes. Just give ourselves two few minutes. It's actually 3 minutes after 7. We'll start at exactly 5 past 7. Start at exactly 5 past 7. Human capital. We're going to be discussing the elements of human capital as part of the generational wealth complex. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Leave a comment as you join. Leave a comment. You can see all the comments that come through. I hope my volume is right today. Okay. In another 1 minute, we'll start. Just 1 minute. Okay. So good evening again. Good evening to anyone who's joined, everyone who has joined. Last week, we went through the spiritual wealth, spiritual capital as part of the generational wealth complex. Today, our focus is going to be on human capital. Yeah, our focus is going to be on human capital. We'll talk about elements of education, physical well-being, emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and then we'll go into certain angles within the psychological well-being complex as well, because all of this put together culminates in a dimension of wealth which is very relevant and very valuable for every one of us as we work our way through creating wealth for the next generations. So I'll see you on the other side. Buckle up and let's get going. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah, thank you for joining again today. I'll start this specific topic or this specific heading on human capital by making 4 statements. The first statement I'm going to make is that the human capital aspect of every individual within a family has nothing to do with the individual. It's actually a part of the family enterprise. I make that statement again. The human capital element within the family enterprise has nothing to do with the individual. It's actually about the sum of the individuals within the family enterprise. Yeah, that's the first one. The second thing is that the human capital for any company, for any organization, on a general note, it's always about the human beings, the personnel, the people that this company have in their books as employees, even to the extent that they even have suppliers. All of those would fall under the human capital of that business. Yeah. The third point I would make is that human capital in the family enterprise is the sum of the individuals that make up that family. It's the sum of the individuals who make up the family. Okay? It is equally the combination of knowledge, skills, abilities, habits, social and personality attributes that, like creativity, put together for economic value. Yeah. So when we look at the human capital aspect or as a dimension of wealth, those 4 points that I've mentioned should be top of mind. At the end of which it becomes clear to you that it's not about you. It's about the family enterprise. It's about the skills, the abilities, the knowledge, the attributes that you can bring into the family enterprise as an individual. And every individual within the family enterprise, with their individual contributions put together, helps and enhances the family enterprise. The first thing we are going to look at today would be an element of the human capital, which is education. A few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with we're having a real debate. In my home, we have all these debates on various topics. And on this specific day, we were having this debate related to education. And the debate was that, who would you consider to be an educated person? Is it someone who's gone to school, who's had high qualifications, has a degree, a master's degree, or has a PhD? Is that the person is that the only person, are those the only people who would fall under the criteria of educated people? What of someone who just learned a skill, who just has proper abilities, proper skills within a certain area of expertise, or have a certain expertise that they've just learned and acquired over time? What of all the knowledge that you acquire, which has nothing to do with a physical class or having any form of qualification? Does that also fall under education? On a general note, when we talk of education, it's always as if it's an individual quest for knowledge. Yeah. So you go to school, for example, you are the one who is going to study as an individual. You are the individual. It's only you who is going to sit for the exams that you would take. It's only you who would stand on the stage if you had to to graduate and qualify with a degree or something of the sort. The certificate's going to be handed to you. It's your name that's going to be inscribed on the certificate. But is it an individual quest? This knowledge that you acquire, is it an individual quest? In actual fact, as a capital for the family enterprise, it is actually not an individual quest. It should actually be seen as an investment into the family enterprise. So every individual within a family who goes out and has any form of education, be it formal or informal education, is actually enhancing. It's an investment into the family enterprise. Because, as I said at the beginning, it is the sum of the individuals within the family that make up the assets of the human capital within the family enterprise. My father always made, my father is, someone who has very high regard for formal education, very, very high regard for formal education. And he always made this statement: if you think that education is expensive, then try ignorance. And of course, reflecting on that, ignorance would definitely land you into a lot of trouble. Yeah. So education is an important aspect or an important investment into the individual lives of the members of a family for it to become an asset. It's for that reason that we have to pay direct attention to the quest for education, for knowledge, for skills, for creativity of every individual within the family. So when a child is born, even from when they go to preschool and go to primary school and get to secondary school, it is very important that we pay direct attention and even go as far as participating in their quest for knowledge. If it's someone who's going through informal learning, which is not a formal quest for knowledge, it is also very important that we support them, we encourage them, we even get to know about what they're doing. We learn to the extent that we would learn as an external party. Yeah. The acquired assets within the educational structure, formal or informal, goes a long way to increase the assets of the family enterprise. Yeah. When we reflect on education as one of the factors that supports human capital, it is also very important to know that a combination of the skills that are put together in an effective family enterprise actually helps to build that family from one level to the next. You would find a family where, let's say, the father or the patriarch of the family or the matriarch of the family started a construction business. Yeah. And he has 3 children. The one goes to school and studies law. The other goes to school and studies finance. And the third goes to school and studies marketing. And then when they finish school, the patriarch is almost at the end of his own, his career. They now decide to go in and help the patriarch. Guess what? The lawyer comes with his abilities. The person who studied finance comes with his ability, and the person who studied marketing comes into his, brings his abilities to the table. And they use that to create a real estate company. Yeah, the lawyer deals with all the legal aspects. The the, the finance person deals with all the financial aspects of the real estate company, and the marketing person uses their marketing skills that they've acquired to promote their real estate activity. So that's why the sum of the individuals within the family enterprise becomes critical in the development and the increase and the growth of this specific capital asset base. Yeah. The growth of the family enterprise is directly connected to the physical, emotional, and the psychological well-being of every member of the family. Yeah. So just imagine within a family enterprise, within a family structure, that somebody, you know, everyone within the family enterprise is sick or physically impaired or emotionally scarred or literally emotionally traumatized and all sorts of things, right? That affects the, the well-being of this asset, which is the human capital aspect of the, or, of generational wealth creation. So as we go through this, we would look at these three elements, because the sum of those actually enhances the human capital. The first we'll go through would be um, physical well-being. So with physical well-being, the key to it is that you are no good to yourself, to anyone, if you are, if you are lying in bed sick. You are no good to anyone, not to yourself, not to anyone. I remember at the beginning of this year, my entire family were, we all fell sick from this pandemic. We all had the virus, coronavirus, and it was very bad. I've never been sick in that way, to that extent in my life. And I was literally no good. No good for myself. I was no good for my family. I was no good to anyone. Yeah. So physical, your physical well-being is extremely important as a component of your human capital complex. So if you are physically incapacitated, it reduces the value of the human capital asset. If you're physically incapacitated, it reduces the value of your human capital asset base. I'm thinking right now of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Yeah. Even with the hundreds of billions of dollars he had in the bank, when his body failed, when his internal systems failed, and he was dramatically sick, the hundreds of billions in the bank could not save him. So physical well-being is absolutely critical as we consider this aspect of human capital. Your physical health is connected to your mental and your emotional health. So when you are physically well, you would notice that emotionally, you have a chance to be stable. Mentally, you have a chance to be stable. you may have been around someone who is physically sick. And basically, what happens is that they become so irritable. They become irritated with anything you say, anything you do to them is not good enough. They just become irritated. Mentally, they are not okay. Emotionally, they are not okay, and really cannot be any good to anyone. So your physical health, your physical well-being is directly connected to your mental and your emotional well-being. There are certain things that we cannot discount when we consider the fact that we need to be physically fit, physically well, to be able to contribute to the family enterprise. The first thing is good nutrition. We have to be able to eat well. The second thing is that we need to exercise. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to also consider our lifestyle. Yeah, the choices we make. Because all the choices we make in our nutrition, in in our physical fitness, our physical abilities. You don't need to be an Olympian, but you need to be physically well. You need to be able to exercise, go around. If you're not registered with a gym, you go around, you walk around, you exercise, you stretch, and all of that. Yeah, all of that contributes to your physical well-being. Your lifestyle itself, yeah, make sure that you don't intoxicate yourself, you don't take substances that literally reduces your capacity to be physically well. No one feels great while they're out there. I don't know about you, when you go out into the gym, or you go to or you decide to take a jog. While you are doing that, it really is not doesn't feel great, right? Because for me, that's how it is. Sometimes you even quit in your head. You literally say, what is this for, right? But you just have to keep pushing it and pushing along and pushing along. At the end of which, there is an immeasurable satisfaction that you have just because you succeeded to go through it and finish the exercise session that you were taking. So, to conclude the physical well-being element, I would like to say that let's not neglect our physical well-being. If you need to see a doctor, go out and see the doctor. For us males, it's actually a very difficult thing. Maybe for women, it's a lot easier. If they think that they need to get to the hospital, they get to the hospital and see a doctor. They need to talk to a doctor, they go out and talk to a doctor. But for men, I don't know what is it about us, So the call to action here is that we need to be physically well to be any good to the family enterprise, to be a contributor into the human capital of the family, of our family's wealth going into the future. The next element which we are going to look at is the emotional well-being of the individuals within the family complex. Emotional well-being is actually not the absence of emotions, right? It's actually the understanding of how we use our emotions, how our emotions propel us to, to positive outcomes in our lives. How our emotions propel us to positive outcomes in our lives. For people who have had traumatic experiences, it scars their emotions. And there are things they really can't do. There are people who are scared of flies. There are people who are scared of heights. There are people who are scared just because of something that happened. I have one of my nieces. He, one of his uncles threw him, held him and threw him as people always throw children in the air, and he fell when he was maybe less than a year old. He's getting to 10 now, and he's scared of heights just because of that experience. If you lift him up, he gets such a fright. The young boy is so frightened because of that specific trauma. So emotional well-being and the traumas of our past actually affect the way we interact with our family members, with our communities, and impairs our contribution into the human capital complex. Emotional stability, for those who are able to experience emotional stability, there's they get to experience elements of self healing. So they know how to deal with stress, they know how to deal with anxiety, they know how to deal with depression, with grief, because of their level of emotional maturity, emotional growth, emotional transformation. They are able to deal with all these things quite seamlessly. They are also able to deal with change very simply, very easily, without any complex. Yeah, they are able to deal with transformation. They are able to, they are able to transform the patterns of their thinking with the times. They are very self-confident, and they are very, very open to growth. Anything related to growth, they are there. Yeah. Emotionally healthy people will embody a certain number of aspects. So for people who are emotionally healthy, people who have a solid emotional well-being, they understand how to adapt to changing times, changing environments, changing seasons in their lives. They know how to cope with stress. They have a positive concept of themselves, yeah, and they can act independently. All these are attributes of people who are stable emotionally. And every one of us, as we look towards contributing to this aspect, to contributing to the human capital aspect of the generational wealth creation master plan, we have to work towards being emotionally well. Because when we are emotionally well, it increases the assets, or on the human capital base of our generational wealth complex. Further on, we are also going to be looking at, I would like also to have a brief discussion around the psychological well-being of the individuals within, within the human capital complex. Remember, at the beginning, I was talking about the fact that the human capital of the family enterprise is the sum of every individual within that family. Yeah, the sum of every aspect of every individual within the family. If you have a family where psychologically every member of the family is, dancing to their own tune, everyone has their, you have people who are almost, mentally deranged and all of that, it actually affects the human capacity of the family. It means that if there were meant to be 4 people contributing to that capital, it would only be three if one is impaired, either physically, emotionally, psychologically, and otherwise. Yeah. So the idea is at every instance, every member of the family should, at a stable and at an emotional, psychological, physical state, should be stable enough to be able to contribute to that, to the human capital of the family enterprise. When we talk about, generally when we talk about psychological well-being, there's just too much focus on happiness rather than around an individual's optimal psychological state, an individual's optimal psychological functioning. So, what are the attributes psychologically that you were endowed with when you came on earth, which you can use to contribute to the human capital of the family enterprise that you find yourself within? So, happiness is not the end of it. Happiness is one part of it. And we would look at a number of psychological well-being angles which we need to consider, because generally the thought is always about the thought is always about happiness, happiness right, happiness left. It's a lot more than just happiness. So the first element of psychological well-being, the first angle of psychological well-being is self acceptance. Yeah, a degree of positive attitude about yourself. So, how much are you self-assured? How much are you self-accepting? Do you beat yourself when you fail? Do you um, are you self-assured? Are you able to psychologically support yourself in the midst of a crisis? Are you satisfied with yourself? Are you able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I gave it a good shot? So this angle of self-acceptance is really about looking at yourself in the mirror and being happy with what you see. And looking at yourself in the mirror is not just looking at yourself physically, it's looking at yourself even internally. Yeah. Remember when we spoke about the element of health, I mentioned that you are no good to anyone when you are physically impaired, when you're physically sick. Yeah. And in that regard, you would notice that for someone who is extremely sick, their level of psychology or their psychological well-being is also affected. Now, it depends on how much of self-acceptance that person has, of self-awareness that person has, for them to be able to power through the physical impairment or the physical illness that they face, to transition and move to the other side and still be able to contribute to the human capital of the family enterprise. The other element is positive relations. Yeah. So people with, people who are who have a balanced psychological well-being, you would notice that they are very secure in their relationships. You would also notice that they have the ability to love and care for other people. Yeah. They have the ability to love and care for other people. They have very good relationships around them. Yeah. That's one of the dimensions of wealth which we are going to discuss in the coming weeks. But people with with a stable psychological well-being and have positive relations would be well assured of themselves. They would, they are very, 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 they, they have very good relations around them. Yeah. They feel secure in every relationship they are in. And for those who do not have that, people who are not psychological, who do not have a balanced psychological well-being, they are insecure. They actually they harbor high feelings of insecurity. They feel disrespected. They feel unappreciated, unloved. All those kind of words come out of them, either by expression or just by words. They would say it. And you can see insecurity coming through them fully. Yeah. The other very important aspect, so we have about 6 of them. We've looked at 2. The third one is autonomy. So people with a balanced psychological well-being enjoy a level of autonomy. This autonomy is not to the exclusion of everyone else. It's just a sense that they have, which is a sense that they can take care of everything that is happening around them. They can take care of themselves. They can take care of, their emotions. They are very balanced. They don't, they are not dependent on what people say. They really don't care what people think about them. Yeah. Um, they also, part of a very important part of it is that they are actually non-conformant. Yeah, there are people who are non-conformant. They don't go according to what the books say, or what the community says, or what the neighbor says. They don't care what others think about them. They are not dependent on others for their own existence. But in this case, for people who are not balanced who are not autonomously balanced, they'll always depend on others. They always depend on what people have to say. What did they have to say about me? What did they think about me? If they want, they're always going to ask for people, for guidance from others. Yeah. So part of a demonstration of psychological well-being is autonomy. So because when we are created with the ability to be autonomous and then to be social. So first of all, we have to be secure in ourselves. We have to be assured in ourselves. We have to be self-accepting. We have to have positive relations, but we also have to be autonomous. So that element of psychological well-being is extremely important. The other one is that we also, people who are psychologically balanced, they also have environmental mastery. And environmental mastery is linked to situations that happen in their lives. Yeah. When things are changing, they are able to master the change. When their environment is changing, they are able to master that change. When things are shifting, they are able to shift with the times. Yeah. They are able to they have the ability to cope, to adapt, to adjust, and to solve problems. So environmental mastery is a key component. On the converse side, if you don't have this environmental mastery, you'd always panic in the face of situations. When things change, they will come to you all the time as a surprise. When things shift, you're unable to adapt. So, as a requirement for the human capital of the family enterprise, under the psychological well-being complex, we need to have a mastery of our environment. The next element is personal growth. So, from a psychologically balanced well-being perspective, personal growth is important. So people who are at that level of psychological well-being, they are always learning new things, always looking to contribute, always looking to participate in community activities, always looking to get involved in social actions that are taking place around them, always interested in the development of others as they develop themselves, always willing to increase their intellectual capacity. Yeah. So personal growth is a key component of this complex. Personal growth is a key component, always looking to grow, always looking to grow themselves as individuals, as a family, and as they are, as a community. You are able to see very clearly how they move. Yeah. The last one, which also linked to personal growth, is it's about their purpose. Yeah, people who find themselves in a psychologically balanced, who are psychologically balanced in themselves, would contribute to every one of these aspects, but most of all, they are concerned about their purpose. They are concerned about their why, and they are in a persistent quest to fulfill that purpose before the end of their days. They are in a persistent quest to continuously strive to improve on themselves as they fulfill the purpose for which they were brought to this earth. It's always a clear picture to them. For them, it's always clear. Yeah, they know that they are here for a reason. They know that they are here for a time. They know that they are here for a reason, and they are out there doing everything to fulfill that psychological component of their life. As we wrap this dimension of wealth, I would like to remind everyone that if you did not watch the episode of last week, we looked at the spiritual capital component of the dimensions of wealth. As I had said in the beginning, there are 5 dimensions. We've gone through 2. In the next 3 weeks, we'll be finishing the dimensions of wealth, and we'll move into another aspect of the master plan of how we create generational wealth. As I wrap up, I would like to thank everyone who has joined us for this session. I'll just do a bit of housekeeping as I end. First of all, for everyone who is participating and taking part in all these sessions every week, don't hesitate to join our Telegram community where we share information about generational wealth. Equally, go and follow our Facebook page, like it, follow us on all the social media platforms. We are on all the platforms. Go there, follow us, engage with us, so that we can keep building this community and building the understanding that there is a work that we need to do as we build and create generational wealth. So you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. You can find us on all of those platforms. In fact, I've just joined a new one called Clubhouse, which is very exciting. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts on some of the panels on there. So thank you all very much. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you all next week. Have a blessed evening, and let's continue to engage as we go through this journey of generational wealth creation. Bye bye.